Hello everybody, and welcome to 0 Mile ADV, a beginner's guide to adventure motorcycling. So if you're like me, you walked in the showroom floor, you wrote your check for your bike, and now you have some time to kill before you can pick it up. And in that time, you're trying to figure out what accessories do I need for my bike, because when it's brand new, it's pretty much missing all the little things that make it unique to you. The hard thing is also you've never owned a motorcycle, and so where do you begin? How do you even start to think about what you want on your adventure bike? So today we're going to talk about the top 5 mods I put on my KTM Super Adventure S to make it my personal adventure bike. The first thing I put on my adventure bike was this Puig, I think that's how you say it, windscreen. Now a couple of things here. I went back and forth on this windscreen and I wasn't really sure if I liked it. I do like that it's slightly tinted so it makes the bike look a little bit better, but it's not black so you can still see through it when you're going down the highway, and it's a little bit bigger and it gives you a little more wind coverage. At first I didn't really like that it was so big, and so I toured around with it for quite a while, took it off, put the factory one back on, but after a few minutes on the highway and just all the wind buffeting noise, I immediately put it back on. So the first thing I did was this brand new windscreen from Puig to give me a little bit more coverage, make the bike look a little bit better because it's slightly tinted. Item number 2 was this custom decal kit by Scrubs Designs. Now, a couple of problems here. Initially, I went with it has a more kind of topo feel, so it looks like a topo map, looks pretty cool. But I wanted it to protect the bike. So if I took rocks or I knocked the bike over, instead of scratching the plastic panels, it would scratch the decals. Now these decals from Scrub Designs are actually pretty thick, and so I think they do that job pretty well. However, you'll notice that I didn't put it on the main big plastic piece here. I initially went and ordered one that was all orange. So I thought, it's gonna make me brighter. It's going to make me safer on the road. It's going to be easier for people to see me because we assume that nobody can see us. However, it just didn't look right. I'll put some photos up so you can take a look at those. So I ordered the black version, which I think looks a lot better. And I didn't put all the panels on. So I put a lot of them here in the dark areas, and then I didn't put on the big one here, and I didn't put the ones on the top. I think it just gives it more of a factory feel or look without being too custom or too tacky. So item number 4, the custom decals by Scrubs Designs. And while we're down here, let's talk about item number 3, and that's these crash bars by SW MoTec. Ran into a couple of problems there. As I mentioned earlier, when I placed the order for the bike, I wanted to try to get as many things as I could from the dealer and just write one check and have it all kind of done at once, so when I picked it up, it was ready for me to ride. However, I placed the order for all the parts, including this crash bar and the metal skid plate, and I waited probably 3 weeks before the parts showed up to the dealership, but then it gets worse. I then had to schedule my appointment, but the dealer couldn't get me in for I think 2.5 months to be able to get them to install. So not a problem, you know, I've already paid for it, I've already committed, so I bide my time. I start riding the bike, I get used to the bike, and then finally the day comes and I'm actually going out of town for work at the same time of my appointment. So it works out perfectly. I'm not gonna be able to ride the bike, I can drop it off and they can get it taken care of. Upon coming back from my work trip, they didn't install a single thing, nothing. And it turns out that they had ordered the wrong parts. We were trying to get some wheels and other stuff installed and they didn't do anything. So I waited 2.5 months for nothing. So on top of that, the correct factory parts from KTM were on back order until November, and I didn't want to wait because it's starting to get cold here in Colorado and I wanted to be able to ride my bike. Luckily though, I found these great crash bars and skid plate from SW MoTec. I had them about 5 days. It was super easy for me to put on in my garage if you have a decent set of tools. It took me maybe an hour and a half or so to get everything installed. They look great. It helps me protect the bike should I lay it over, and it wasn't that hard to install. So item number 3, the crash bars from SW MoTec. Next up on the list is tires. I mentioned in my other videos that the bike came with 80-20 tires. So 80% road, 20% off-road. But let me tell you, there wasn't a whole lot of off-road capability in those tires. Anytime you got on a dirt road or even like a dirt parking like this with a lot of this loose gravel, the bike was just all over the place. You could feel the traction control working really hard, and it was just not really comfortable at speed. So I went with the Motoz GPS tires. So they are a 50/50 tire, and on the back tire there's actually a center tread that runs all the way the length of the tire, making it really quiet on road and still giving you a great road riding handling ability. So they're still great on the highway, but they give me a lot more traction off-road, and probably one of the best things I did. And on that note, I also ran into a bunch of problems trying to get these installed at the dealer as well, because they were also going to install a set of factory spoked wheels from KTM, but they couldn't get them to work. So in my whole kerfuffle, I was supposed to get wheels, tires, crash bars, and skid plate, and I ended up only having the dealer install these tires. The last and my favorite modification I did to the bike are these SW MoTec aluminum panniers. Now, at first, I hated the way they looked and I almost returned them. And now I can't even imagine not having them on the bike. I took them off temporarily to take the bike back to the dealer for a second time just to get my tires installed, and hated the way the bike looked. So this is by far got to be my favorite upgrade. These also allow me to use the bike in a way I would in just day-to-day use with my car. I can lock my jacket in there, I can lock my helmet if I bring the top case, I can lock my work bag. So really it just makes the bike so much more functional on a day-to-day use, and I absolutely love them. One challenge I did run to is I had done really good and I had never tipped the bike over, and I finally dropped the bike when I was out doing some exploring on some dirt roads up in the BLM land. And unfortunately the bike fell over on one of the panniers, and it did give me a little bit of a dent right here. So I do have a little bit of a road rash on my new panniers, but they held up really well, saved the bike from getting any damage, and they still look fantastic. So with that being said, my favorite modification has to be these panniers. And if you've made it this far, I really appreciate it if you could do me a favor by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell so you get notified every time a new video comes out. I would love to hear if you're in the process of ordering your bike, what modifications are you looking to do to yours? Leave me a comment below. Or if you've already got your bike, what were some of the favorite mods you put on your bike that maybe I didn't talk about today? So until next time, stay safe out there.